As a founder, you are fighting the wrong battle and you don't even realize it. You're trying to control markets, investors, customers, the algorithm, everything except the one thing that actually decides if you win or lose. And that's you. This is what I call the Stoic Founder's Playbook. It's how you go from being a reactive operator to someone unshakable under pressure. So stick around until the end because I'm gonna give you the Stoic Founder's Daily Checklist. This is a simple one-pager that's gonna change how you show up every single day. But first, let's zoom out for a second. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome with absolute power. And the crazy thing is, he never lost himself. Now, if he could resist corruption at the height of empire and all the degeneracy that came along with Rome, you can resist distraction with the 6-month runway. So how do you actually pull Stoicism into your business life? Well, it's not philosophy stuff. It's real founder in the trenches techniques. And I've laid out the 12 rules, and each one is practical that you can apply into your business starting today. So let's get ready and let's dive right into it. Rule number 1 is to control the one thing you own. It's not your burn rate that kills you. What really slaughters founders is the illusion of control. It's the endless chase to manage things that were never yours to command in the first place. I mean, you don't control the market, you don't control your investors, and you don't even fully control your team. The only thing you truly own is your choices. That's how you show up and where you focus and what standards you refuse to compromise. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. I call it the 2 circles. So here's how it works. Circle A is what you command directly. That's your time, your focus, and your discipline. Circle B is everything else. That's the markets, politics, online chatter, competitors, trolls, and even comment bots. Weak founders drift into Circle B. They get one bad blog write-up and they start fighting shadows. But Stoic founders double down on Circle A because they know that shrinking distraction is the only way to expand their impact. So here's the drill. Look at last week's calendar in your schedule. Label every block A or B. Then tomorrow, move 3 Bs into A, 3 blocks of time where you stop reacting and start choosing. The founder who masters his own circle eventually bends the outer circle into his favor. Rule number 2 is virtue beats velocity. Speed always feels like progress, and as founders, we get addicted to speed. But speed without virtue is just racing off a cliff. The Stoics were obsessed with virtue because they knew power without it always ends. Julius Caesar was a brilliant strategist, one of the best, and he was lightning fast in action. But his ambition outran his virtue. Under his vision, Rome got an empire, but also centuries of bloodshed. If you contrast that with Marcus Aurelius, he moved slower, or he was more moderate, but every decision was filtered through principle. That's why his reign is remembered as the last great age of Rome, not just another grab for power. For founders, virtue means 4 things. It means clarity, justice, courage, and self-command. This is what I call the virtue gate. Every major decision has to walk through it. So start off by asking these critical questions. First, is this goal clear to me in one line? Second, is it fair to customers, partners, and my team? And 3, does it demand courage, or are you hiding behind comfort? And then finally, do you have the discipline to enforce it? If the answer is no to any of these at any point, it doesn't pass the virtue gate. So here's your drill. Take the biggest decision that's been dumped on your desk. Run it through the virtue gate today and make the call by sundown. Always remember, velocity without virtue is chaos, but when speed moves through principle, it compounds into power that actually lasts the test of time. Rule number 3 is prefer pain over rot. Most founders don't get taken out by crisis. They get taken out by comfort. It's not the fire in the building that kills the company. It's the slow rot that spreads. This is like termites in the foundation of a house. And this usually happens as the leader starts to avoid making hard calls consecutively. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, wars, and constant invasion, but the empire held strong. It wasn't a crisis that eventually doomed Rome. It was what came after him, his successors who avoided hard reforms, who let comfort hollow out the state from the inside out. Crisis tests you, but comfort corrodes you. Founders fall into this exact same trap in the 21st century. Especially as you become more wealthy. You put off firing all those underperformers because you're worried about HR. You delay cutting scope and you won't admit a product flop. Every day you avoid those tough decisions, rot spreads, morale drops, and runway burns. Ultimately, that means your momentum dies as an organization. The Stoic founder does the opposite. He chooses clean pain now so he doesn't have to drown later. So here's the tool you can use. I call it the pain ledger. Column 1, grab a sheet of paper and write down the decision you're avoiding. Column 2, write the cost of delay. And then column 3 is write the one hard action that ends it. Pick one line from your ledger and clear it before tomorrow. Call, cut, or commit. One painful conversation today is worth more than 100 pieces of duct tape tomorrow. Rule number 4 is lead like you're being filmed. Think about it. If a camera followed you around for a week, would your team walk away inspired or quietly start looking for another gig? Here's a blind spot you might be missing in your team. Your people don't rise to your words. They mirror your state. If you're scattered, they're scattered. If you're calm, they're calm. If you're decisive, then they execute. Cato the Younger was one of the great Stoic figures of Rome, but he wasn't the strongest general. Yet his soldiers followed him because he embodied discipline. In the cold of the campaign, he wore the same thin cloak as his men did. He ate the same rations. That's why the Stoic founder leads with his posture first. By example, you're clear, you're calm, and then you have a mindset that's ironclad. The tool is what I call the 3-line brief, and I use this almost daily. It's a way to strip out all the noise of communication. So here's how it works. First, describe the situation in one simple sentence. Second, state your intent, what outcome is driving forward. And then third, give the very first move to get it rolling. That's it. 3 lines, no fluff, no philosophy. Now, your team should be able to hear it and know exactly what's happening, why it matters, and what to do next. So tomorrow morning, run your stand-up with a 3-line brief. End with names and deadlines. Watch what happens. Meetings will get cut in half, and everyone leaves knowing exactly what matters. Leadership isn't about what you say. It's about the state you carry into the room and then how that inspires your organization forward. Rule number 5 is build a fortress routine. The world outside our companies is crazy, right? It's always chaos, and that's fine. What matters is having a vision on the inside. Your schedule isn't just a calendar, it's a shield. And the way you guard your time, especially the first hour of your day and then the last hour of your day is the most important. That determines how you show up as a founder. So here's the Stoic founder's daily routine. In the morning, sit in the silence for a few minutes. It doesn't have to be that long. Then write 1 page answering this question. What do I actually control today? Do 20 minutes of outreach before you even glance at your inbox. Then drop straight into a deep work sprint. At night or at the end of your day, do a 10-minute after action review. Note what went well, what broke, and what you need to fix. Write tomorrow's plan in 5 lines. Take a short walk. Close the laptop and leave it closed. Then run this routine for just 3 days. Treat it like a board meeting with yourself. Make it your non-negotiable because 3 clean mornings will outperform an entire messy year of reactive days. Rule number 6 is sell or be sold. An empire only survives if it expands, and the moment it stops growing, it starts collapsing under its own weight. Look at Rome. When it pushed outwards and it seized new territory and trade routes, that's when the empire thrived. But once expansion stalled, the rot set in. Business works exactly the same way. Sales is your expansion. If you're not selling, you're dying. And founders who avoid sales are just writing their own eulogies. The Stoic founder sells with conviction, not out of desperation, but because he knows his solution serves humanity and solves problems. So here's the tool to make sales as effortlessly as breathing. Listen to your customers describe the problems in their own words and don't interrupt them. Then quantify the cost of doing nothing. Show the safer, faster, and better value that you provide, and then make the ask. Be direct without flinching. Do this yourself to test the waters, and don't wait for your VP of sales. As CEO, you should book 50 important partner or customer pitches this week. Start with one question. Ask, walk me through the last time this burned you, and then listen to the customer. Then hit that head on with your solution and make it insane for them to say no. Just like Rome needed new provinces to keep the empire alive, your company needs new sales to keep the lights on because expansion is survival. All right, rule number 7, train the emotional body. Your mind runs on your body. It's not decoration, it's your operating system. So if your body breaks down, your decisions follow. And strong founders don't snap under stress because their baseline mental capacity is steady. And that baseline only comes from training because training is a form of trauma. Imagine Flama. He was the most famous gladiator in Rome. He fought in the arena 34 times and survived, even when the odds said he wouldn't. So how did that happen? It was discipline. He trained his body like his life depended on it. He was offered freedom 4 times and he refused it because he wanted to keep fighting. For founders, the same rule applies. I call it the Founder 4. Lift heavy, walk fast, eat real food, and sleep like it's medicine. So here's your daily Stoic drill. Block your trainings first in the morning and let meetings move around it. If you can't do this, remember one thing. The day your body fails, your business follows. So make the damn time to take care of yourself. Rule number 8 is make peace with death of plans. Your plan is gonna die. I hate to break it to you. Your mission will live though. That's one of the hardest lessons for founders to accept. We get attached to our business plans, to the exact way we imagined our success to unfold. But reality doesn't care about our slide decks. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this in Meditations. He said, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which arm you today. In other words, what he meant was don't worship the plan. Arm yourself with common sense and keep the mission alive, even when the plan crumbles. The Stoic founder understands this. He kills ideas quickly so the mission can survive. Here's the tool. Do a weekly postmortem and ask yourself, how does this launch fail? Write down the top 3 failure modes. In previous videos, I've told you about the inversion method. This is the inversion method in practice. Then solve them now before they spread. Block 30 minutes before your next product release and run the post-mortem with your team. Assign names to each risk. When you anticipate failure, you rob it of its surprise. Napoleon Bonaparte did this too. He always said, I would imagine where I would attack myself if I was my own enemy. The plan will die, but your mission will keep moving if you think this way. All right, rule number 9. Cut noise, keep signal. When you're running a company, opinions flood and dashboards scream, but data, the stuff that actually matters, that's the most quiet. It whispers. Most founders drown in noise because they track everything and nothing. Imagine Marcus Aurelius on the Danube frontier. The Marcomanni and the Quadi had pushed into Roman territory, and they were threatening Italy itself. Marcus didn't waste time mapping every tree or hill. He focused on the signals that determined survival for Rome. Supply lines across the river, morale of his legions, and the train advantage. He even made the timing of the counterstrike. A handful of levers decided whether Rome's army held or fell, and business is no different than that. The Stoic founder runs on 5 numbers. New pipelines created, that's prospects. Your win rate, that's your customer conversion. Cash in the bank, that's your runway. Retention, and then velocity. That's it. Not 50 dashboards. 5 signals can build a huge business. So put these 5 numbers on one sheet and then review them daily. One of them will always scream louder than the rest. That's the one that needs your attention. When Marcus mapped the Danube battlefield, clarity came from tracking what won the war, not cluttering his map with noise. Rule number 10 is codify your temper. Marcus Aurelius wrote, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? That's the truth we all forget as founders. Anger feels powerful in the moment, but it burns trust and leaves wreckage behind. The real power is to moderate that anger. In business, the most common expression of anger is litigation. Entire companies have burned through decades of momentum and millions in legal fees over ego-driven lawsuits between CEOs that oftentimes accomplish nothing. The fight feels justified in the moment, but the costs always dwarf the cause. Rome fell in the same traps. Feuds in the Senate often lasted longer than the men who started them. Generals dragged personal grudges into campaigns, and they bled the treasure and soldiers' morale just to satisfy their selfish pride. The empire's strength was drained not by external enemies alone, but by anger towards the inward elites. So use the 90-second rule. When you feel yourself about to snap, pause, take 9 slow breaths, sip some water if you need to, and write the problem down in a single line. Then choose one forward action. Only after that do you speak. And teach this to your leadership team too, and enforce in your meetings. It will transform your C-suite for the better. Rule 11, build a brotherhood of builders. Lone wolves don't make it, they starve, and every founder who tries to do it alone eventually gets picked off. The Stoic founder builds a circle that tells him the truth and forces him to level up. I call it the council, and here's how it works. Talk to 4 other founders or 6 or whatever the number is, but get a small group together 1 hour once a week. Round 1, just share your wins and make it quick and clean. Round 2, one person goes in the hot seat and talks about what went wrong. And there's no pity here. Round 3 is everyone leaves with commitments and dates attached. Don't overthink this. Text 3 killer founders that you know and lock in your personal counsel. The right founder feedback loop can add a year of runway or even a decade to your company with a single tough question. Rule number 12 is leave the room cleaner. Power is going to tempt you, but character is what decides how long you last. Wealth without restraint has destroyed more companies than bad products ever did. Restraint, on the other hand, compounds into respect, and respect is the one currency that never devalues. So here's the 3 tests. Before you make a gray area move, ask yourself, would I sign this if it was on the front page of the New York Times tomorrow? And then would I be comfortable explaining it to my family at dinner? And then last, would I be willing to repeat this same move for the next 10 years? Take that next tough call on your desk and run it through those 3 questions. If it fails, walk away. At the end of the day, reputation lowers your customer acquisition costs faster than the best ad campaign can. And no amount of money will ever buy back your reputation. So I'm going to leave you with one final question. Can you pass the Emperor's test? Imagine you had it all. Unlimited money, endless praise, every door wide open. Most founders in that position would drift into comfort and disguise it as strategy. The Emperor's test forces you to ask 2 things. What would you cut, build, or ship if you could get away with anything? And then second, why aren't you already doing those things now, when nobody's watching especially? Pass that test and you prove you're the kind of founder that investors can trust with power. And if this video landed for you, don't just nod and move on. Run with it. Write down the Stoic founder's lessons and keep it on your desk. Pick one rule tonight and actually do the drill before you sleep. Action beats inspiration every time. Then queue up my next video. It plugs straight into the system and it shows you how to win when the pressure's on. Don't forget to hit subscribe. If you're building in the trenches, this is the #1 most aspirational community on YouTube. Now stop watching and lead like a Stoic founder. I'll see you guys in the trenches.